Hello, hello, everybody. Here we are again, coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha on 44 different platforms around the world and a horde of social media sites. And we're going to have fun tonight. Speaking about what's outside of the box, in the back of your mind, in the universal mind, the quantum existence is so much fun because that's where all the mysteries are. And we have a very exciting guest that I'm going to introduce to you in just a little bit here. And yeah, my name is Aage, and my co-host Nori just couldn't be here tonight, so we're gonna miss her, but she'll be back. And I mentioned those 44 different platforms, and one of them is the Conscious Awakening Network. You got to go over there and have a look because they got close to 50 different shows with all kinds of good stuff that both you and me need to know about. It's consciousawakeningnetwork.org. So that's the one. And go over there. And then if you are on YouTube watching it now, that's the only place to be because that's the only one where we can also participate in the chat room. And I didn't tell him yet, but Mac's going to have to help us with that one because my co host is not here. So he's going to watch that for us and maybe help out a little bit. And I want to say a few things about our guest. Many of you already know her because she is everywhere on the internet and shows and conferences, and she has her own platform, which I just mentioned. And for those of you that want to surf the net while you are listening, here is her website. That is SheilaSeppi.com. Yes, Sheila Seppi is with us. And I want to say just a few things, and that is that Sheila has a kind of an out of the normal story to her life. Up to the age of 35, she did everything normal, went to school, college, working, married, got children, and in 1999, her whole world was rocked and turned upside down. She suddenly found there was another soul, another consciousness in her physical body. The new soul had switched places with the one who was there before. And the new soul came in with memories and traits from her spiritual lineage. And that, some of it, angelic, Pleiadian, Syrian, Arcturian, Mantis, and Andromedan, multidimensional spiritual selves that she had been in the past. She suddenly found herself with new memories, new knowledge, and abilities that she had no clue of even existed at the time. She became clairvoyant, clairaudient, and that is to hear messages from unseen sources, and clairsentient, to know about people's life and their health and things like that. She is also she was instant healed from having many, many illnesses before, and they suddenly went away. Now she's an author, a speaker, a multidimensional life coach, a healer, a regression therapist, and the founder of the Spirit Way Wellness and the Conscious Awakening Network to bring speakers together to educate people and help us raise our consciousness because that's going to be important to us if we want to go where we should go, even if we don't know. And it gets stranger, but let's have Sheila tell us about that. Welcome to the show, Sheila.
Thank you, Augie. I appreciate your invitation to be here.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
I think
I
so.
it start things. I'm not really sure even to where to start, but there could be a few people out there that don't know you yet. So maybe
Okay.
talk a little bit about where you came from, what happened in 1999, and what's going on after that.
Sure. I'd be happy to. So I am what's called a walk-in, although I had never heard that word. And if this had not happened to me, I would not have believed it even to be possible. Okay. But prior to 1999, for about 20 years, I had been diagnosed with a whole host of diseases, including bone cancer, brain tumors, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I walked with a cane. I had the beginning stages of rheumatoid arthritis. I had lesions that were starting to form in the brain. So they told me that, I had the beginning stages of multiple sclerosis. And I mean, you name it. And I pretty much had it. So, needless to say, I was a pretty sick person. But I also I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse, even though, I had 3 children, I had a job. Inside and outside, though, I was really starting to go downhill. And I was starting to get depressed. And well, you can imagine when you're in pain all the time, how frustrating that is. And so I went to bed that way. And what seemed, early the next morning, it felt as if someone reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head, pulled me bolt right up in bed, and it was like lightning ran through my body. And I don't know how long I was with that sensation, but the next thing I know is I was in white space. And I don't know how long I was there either, but I was out of pain. I felt totally comfortable. I was relaxed. I felt all this unconditional love around me. And if I had a choice, I would have stayed right where I was. Now, a lot of people said that was a near death experience, and maybe it was. I have no idea. But what I do know is the next thing that happened is my peripheral vision started coming in and then my frontal vision. And as I sat there looking around in the bed, everything was the same as it was the night before, but everything felt different. So when I got up and I put my feet on the carpet, it was like I had never touched carpet before, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so gushy. And I can remember it just as if it was yesterday because it was such an impact and such a cellular resonance, which we can talk about. But anyway, as I went through the bedroom and I caught my reflection, I just stopped and stared at myself. And that was for a long time because it was like I was looking out of somebody else's eyes at me. Now, the next thing that happened is all of a sudden I had all this universal information, all these quantum physics principles running around in my head, which literally have taken, 20 years. I didn't know anything about parallel universes or timelines or densities or any of that kind of stuff, but all that information's running through my head. Then I started remembering past lives. Now, the significant thing about that is I didn't believe in past lives. So immediately I thought, uh-oh, what the heck is going on? Not that everything else wasn't already a uh-oh, but this was like a big eye opener. And then I started remembering healing modalities that I had never studied. So in my mind, I'm just sitting here wondering what the heck is going on. Am I losing it? Am I crazy? Has the pain finally gotten to me? I didn't know what was happening. Then I started hearing voices speak to me, and there was no one around. It's just like we were talking, having this conversation with us. Then I started seeing people, that were not there. No one else was, saw them because this continued. So, me self-diagnosing myself because I had just enough psychology to be dangerous. I decided in my mind, oh, I'm having a psychotic break. I'm having a dissociative disorder. I'm having this, I'm having that. And so the thing that as time was going on throughout that day that became the scariest for me was not that event because all of a sudden I'm feeling great. I didn't know I was a walk-in and that I had been instantly healed at that moment. But I just started feeling all these strange feelings and all this, information flooding me. And I'm walking around and looking at everything as if it's brand new. I had no idea what had happened. And as time went on, then everything about me changed. My personality changed. The foods that I ate and drank changed. The music I listened to, the way I dressed, the way I articulated myself. And the kids loved it because for the first time, I could get out, I could run around with them because my son was 3, my daughter was 6, and my older daughter was 12. And so all of a sudden, they're like, wow, this is fantastic. Mom's feeling better. We can do this, we can do that. And that was great. So they loved everything that was happening. My mom, on the other hand, had noticed that I had very little to no memory of my childhood, of people around me. And so she thought I had the beginning stages of Alzheimer's and she wanted me to go see a doctor. But I knew I didn't. I mean, I felt fantastic, but it was scary because I didn't have those memories. And in later times, I would ask my collective, I want to remember this stuff. I want to remember. And they're like, they're not your memories. It's not your memories. Okay. And so within 3 months, I had left that marriage. Within another 3 months, I had moved to another state. And as I was laying in the bed, and of course, now remember, this is 20 some years ago. The internet was there, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I was flipping through the back of the phone book, no Google, I'm looking, and all of a sudden, I turned the page, and it's like this light was shining on this ad for spiritual counseling. Well, I grew up in the South. And I, went to church. I believed, all the things that you believe. And my view of life, the world, and the universe was very, very small. And so, but the counseling felt good because of my psychology background and my, the fact that she was a spiritual counselor felt good because at that time I didn't know the difference between religion and spirituality. Okay. So I go to see her and, within a couple times, she is the one that really said, I do not think that you're having a psychotic break. Nothing, none of the tests, your behavior, your languaging, nothing would say that you have any type of mental illness. She said, but I would like to introduce the concept of a walk in. And she started talking to me about that. And I was so angry because I went there, I wanted a little blue pill. I was in that Western medicine model. I wanted to pop that. I wanted to go back to my old dysfunctional life. I didn't, what's a walk in? Are you crazy, lady? But the thing that was the most, I think, exciting out of that is she also was of Native American lineage. And so she invited me because I was new in the community anyway. She goes, look, I've got these groups of women that meet. If you want to come join us, come hang out, see if you like it. Lo and behold, she was teaching Native American spirituality and she was teaching about shamanism. Well, that made all the sense in the world to me. Now I'm still rolling around in the back of my head this walk in thing. Okay. I'm like, I don't know, you know, but during these groups, I learned how to shamanically travel. And man, I was great at it. I could go in, I could go out, I could visit, I could talk with guides, I could talk with trees, I could do it all. Okay. Because remember, I was kind of fresh from the spirit world. And so
Yeah.
I still had all of those skills really firmly intact. I still do. But anyway, at that time, it was so new, it was really overpowering. So I started doing my traveling work, and that's where I met my guides. And I found out that I was what's called a soul exchange walk in. My complete soul left, and instead of the physical body dying, a new soul came in and took that place. Now, the great thing about that is this soul, unlike reincarnation, did not have to go through a birth process or childhood or adolescence or any of that. I came into an adult form that was ready to do work. Now, I'm going to jump back to what happened. When the walk in came in, and I know that your audience will get this, so I can just talk very plainly. The soul that had originally been in the body was of Arcturian nature, okay? And so there was already an energetic framework that was laid within the spiritual bodies that allowed me to come in. Now, I used to think that I was Arcturian until I understood these concepts. I actually came from what's called a collective, and this was a seventh density collective. We were in the Arcturian system, just kind of observing. There was this huge craft that was there, and there was this, I don't know, for a lack of better terms, like this big black metallic worm looking thing, but it was huge. I mean, not like a little bitty worm. We're talking miles across, that was coming in to the backside of the Andromedan galaxy. And this ship then sent this beam out, encapsulated it, and started pulsing. So it was sending this pulse wave until it disappeared. Okay. Now, that was a memory that I recovered through hypnosis. All right. But I did remember being in the Andromedan galaxy. So we were just there observing this when all of a sudden there was this cry or this call, but this feeling, this tug that came from Gaia herself. And she was crying out for people to come and help her because she was trying to get the people of the planet to raise their vibration and she needed a little bit of help. So we left the Andromedan galaxy and we were already a collective consciousness, but we also then joined consciousnesses with all the other consciousnesses that were there. And we began to imprint into the crystalline grid. Now, there's a whole story about the damage that was done and why it was done and the piezoelectric field and all that kind of stuff. But I don't really want to talk about that right now. But we were there infusing light codes that would come down through to humanity by way of the collective consciousness. Okay. And all of humanity is connected to that it's around us, it's above us, it lies right beneath, it goes all the way up to the crystalline grid, which means it also goes through the ionosphere and up. All right. And then we continue to gather and gather and gather more information, etc. So we were working on the crystalline grid when the soul of this body cried out to be released. And when that happened, it was decided in an instant that I would be the aspect to come in. So when I came in, I brought in the energy that would be the most compatible with the physical body. Because remember, it was very, very sick. And so I was able to come in without frying the neurology or the biology or anything. And so over time, just that little bit of new energy that entered the body completely healed it because it was no longer my reality. If you want to look at it, that timeline had collapsed and a new one had begun because of the
Mhm.
decisions that was made and because of the energy that the walk-in brought. Now, over time, I learned how to work with my collective. And I used to have all of these phenomenal ideas. And I would think, "Ooh, look, that's a great idea. Let's pat myself on the back here." When all of a sudden one day they're like, that has nothing to do with you. That's our idea. What are you doing? And so we have this reciprocal understanding, and because it's a collective, it is the embodiment of the oversoul and all of the lifetimes that I have collectively had. There are over 128 that have been identified within the collective over time, but the information kind of, it swirls around, if you can imagine, like a mixer. All that information is swirled around of what I need for this lifetime and what you needed for your lifetime. You brought in with you by way of what's called the Shantias Khan, which I can talk about in a minute. But that's a lot of information.
Yeah. When you were going through that, I got the thread going to it all. But there's one thing that I wonder,
Yeah.
the soul that left and the new
Mhm.
one came in. Was that something for the one that left? Was that a request? Or was it something that was just arranged for from the outside to have someone competent come in and take over to do work?
When there are walk-in situations that occur, there's always an agreement. Okay? It's a pre-birth. We can't just lay there and ask for a walk-in. It doesn't work that way. If it did, we'd all be walk-ins because there's at times I'm
Yeah,
sure we'd all like to check out of here, but it
yeah,
doesn't work that way. It has to be a pre-birth agreement. But there's also situations like was with my body that the soul inside the body came here for a very specific person. But remember, we have this veil of forgetfulness. And she totally forgot what she was doing. She was totally off mission. She was out there it's like putting a kid in a candy store. "Ooh, she totally forgot what she was here for. And because of that, the mission still had to take place. And I didn't understand that for a long time, but my collective has, you know, shared with me that because of the physiology of the body, because of the genetic coding that came in with the family, there are certain light codes that she was supposed to activate that she didn't, that I was able to activate, okay?
yeah,
Because she got off mission, and you have to have a certain vibrational frequency in order for these codes to activate and to become the reality for that particular person, or for them to go down a particular pathway. Maybe it opens up a new timeline or a parallel or whatever. And so the soul was so off mission that the body began to get sick. And that was
yeah,
the soul's way of checking out. It was kind of like, oh my God, I need out of here. I
mm,
can't do this. And so because, many star seeds feel that way, I can't do
yeah,
this, I can't do that. I want to go home. Let me look at the stars. Please come and get me tonight, whatever. And so that soul was the exact same way and really needed to leave. So when I came in, I literally assumed that life. Now, I asked my collective many, many times, am I a body snatcher? Because that really bothered me. It's like, did I kick the old soul out?
yeah,
And they explained that nope, you did not kick the soul out. The soul had cried out in its own way to be released. So let me back up. In our life, in every single person that's watching this or listening to this or ever will watch or listen, each one of us has a birth plan. So
yeah,
before we incarnate, we set up certain scenarios for ourselves and we set up exit strategies. Okay. And so this was one of that soul's exit strategies.
yeah.
It got what it needed. I came in, got what I needed. And so
That's
I had the adult form to start to move forward.
yeah. That's where free will comes in
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the
Absolutely.
pre-birth agreement. That's where you agree to everything, and then you come
Mhm.
here and you kind of stuck with it unless you are able to think around it and get the experiences that you have already told yourself you were going to have and were placed in the pre-birth agreement. If you can get that information in another form that than what you thought of, you could bypass some of it, couldn't you?
Yeah. No. I think what happens is we have choice points. Okay. And so when we have free will, it's like, okay, I want this to occur in my life. But it's kind of like a grocery store. I'm going to go get food, but what am I going to put in my basket? That's your free will. You're going to get food, it's going to happen, but you get to decide how it happens, how it shows up, etc. You can have good food, you can have bad food, and you can look at that as our choices.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
And
is
so,
many, yeah, there's many ways to get the same experience. Kind of like
yes.
there's many paths to the top of the mountain, but there's only one top. Okay.
That's exactly right. I love that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And so, when we talk about walk ins, most people think that the soul comes in at birth and that it exits when we leave. But when you start talking about the phenomenon of walk ins, then we're reminded that this experience is not just this intellectual exercise, it evolves an immersion. into the essence of our cosmic being and who we are at a soul level, and the fact that we are so much more than we've ever been told that we are. And in the book, Cosmic Convergence, and I know we're going to go in depth about that pretty soon in another interview, but I do want to just mention that because in that book, we lay out how, when these souls come in, whether it's a walk in, a starseed, or a hybrid, that we begin to acknowledge that our soul's journey really transcends the boundary of a single lifetime. And we begin to weave together our individual stories, which then creates this grand tapestry of the universe because we are all connected, period. We're all
Yeah.
connected. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I didn't even understand it. My collective also showed me that we have what's called ley lines. And these ley lines run all the way through our holographic grid and they connect us to everything. And I truly believe that that's what the Native Americans were talking about when they
Yeah.
spoke about the web of life.
Yeah. Nikola Tesla talked about it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very,
and
very.
everything is frequency. Everything is frequency. So, like with me, I had the soul exchange, one soul out and another soul in, but there are people out there that also are walk-ins that may not know it. And that's because they've had what's called a soul infusion. Now, it's not a complete exchange of the soul, but it's rather like an augmentation. And what happens there is you integrate more and more of your higher self energy, more of
Yeah.
your oversoul aspects. But I will tell you that even though you cannot ask for a walk in to occur in your life, with soul infusions, that's happening on this planet all the time. And not because part of a soul leaves and it's augmented, most people are now working on raising their vibrational frequency in whatever form that is. So when you release all the lower density out of your life, when you release all those lower vibrations, when you truly let go, you're really making space for more and more of your own higher
Yeah.
aspects to come in. And I see that happening all the time.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your book there is Cosmic Convergence. I remember back in, was it 1987 when we had that first
Yeah.
when the clarion call went out, and we all got. I remember that night. I'm back in Omaha then. We were outside. We had a bonfire and we're sitting there talking and playing guitars till about 4 in the morning, I think. It
Yeah.
was fun, and
Yeah.
everybody felt like we got to do more of this. This feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I was here for that, but I was in the collective and we were working on the grid. We were here for the convergence and the concordance. And when I was trying to come up with a name, it's like cosmic convergence, because what's happening right now on this planet, just like what happened, there was this perfect alignment and those soul codes were able to drop down and people were ready for them and they accepted it with an open heart, and all of these spiritual awakenings began to occur, and it deepened people. It deepened their beliefs of the people who were receiving these codes. The same thing kind of happens right now on the planet because more and more people are waking up to the fact that they're a soul having a human experience, to the fact that there's more to this life than there's been told, to the fact that disclosure needs to take place on many, many levels, not just talking about ufology, but on many levels. We need disclosure. There's so much now that people are aware of that even back in the 80s that they never did talk about.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so, yeah,
absolutely.
so we're still having these convergences that's happening.
Yeah. I see now we are coming down to the bottom of the hour here. And for those of you that joined us late, we are talking with Sheila Seppi. She is a walk in. She came here with abilities and knowledge that the previous soul in that physical body did not know about. And this is getting interesting, folks. And you also, Cosmic Convergence is that book. Could you take maybe a minute or so and tell people what they will find in it? Because I had a look at that and it got deep.
Yeah, and it really does. But I wanted to expand more on walk-ins, star seeds, and hybrids, but I also felt that it was really important to help people have an understanding of some of the things that I had come in with because that I think really clearly begins to demonstrate the fabric of reality and what's happening now and the things that other people know inside themselves. It's like, oh, for many years, I thought I was crazy, okay? And then it was like, oh, now everybody's like, maybe I'm crazy because I was like, no, see, read this book. So anyway, I came in. You're going to find a whole plethora of information because I want people to understand that they're multidimensional beings and all that that encompasses. So you're going to find out about dimensions. You're going to find out about densities, and in my mind, they're very, very different because a dimension is like a different perception of reality. Okay, your density has to do with your space and the vibrational rate. Like we're all in third density right now, but many, many people's thought processes are in higher dimensions. Some are in already 5D where they're having unified consciousness. Some are in 7D where they're having this spiritual realization and enlightenment. Well, how can we all be having these different experiences if we're all in the same place? Because of our consciousness level and the fact that we're all being held on this third density. Okay.
Yeah.
So I go into depth about the differences between that. I also talk really about, the different types of the life forms that we are, everything from carbon to the carbon silica to the silica on up all the way to where we're liquid light. Okay. Because these are some of the memories that I also brought in. We're talking about like planes of existence, whether it's the physical, the astral, the mental, whether we're talking about the causal plane, the Buddhic plane, the atomic plane, and then the monadic plane, we're talking about that. I also talk about the ascension of the soul and the various degrees with which we come down into this physical body. I talk about timelines and parallel universes, alternative universes, and then I go into like the holographic grid of the body because that's kind of the work that I do. I can look at you, I can see your grid, I can see the things that is caught in there, and we pull these things out and they look like Brillo pads. So we start to pull out these threads. Some of those threads may have to do with cosmic lifetimes that you've had. Some of them might have to do with, ancestral genetical healing that you're doing in this lifetime. Some might have to do with chakra imbalances. So we go through and I try to explain that to people how that we're not just this physical form that you see. We have all these lights and flashes and energies and everything that intersects and makes us who we are. So that's the first part of the book. And then we get into now you can see why a walk-in is possible. Now you can understand the depths of the soul and say, oh, yeah, souls have to come from somewhere. When we leave this physical plane, say this all the time. We're not just sitting out there drinking cappuccino. We're doing
Yeah.
other things. We are eternal beings. We are part of that divine source energy, but we're individuated, fractalized aspects of that. Okay. And so we're on our own experience. And those experiences might come in the form of having had Palladian lifetimes, or maybe you're a Venetian, maybe you're a star seed, maybe you came straight from source, or like me, one of my originating home planets is Andromeda. And that's where I was in that galaxy, but we were in a different dimensional form. We were in a different density form. Okay. So I explain all of that. Maybe people are from Orion, who knows where
Yeah.
you're from, but I
Mhm.
talk about that and some of the signs that you might see, when you're looking at that. But I think right now the reason I wanted to put so much information in there about timelines is we're having a collapsing of timelines right now. We're calling to us our own divine highest timeline, whether that's an individual timeline or a collective timeline. And we also have divergent timelines, which kind of branch off. And we've got karmic timelines and all
Yeah.
kinds of, cyclical timelines, like the cycles of what our country goes through,
Yeah.
every 4 years, the cycle of what
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
say with the yugas and the Kali Yuga that we're
Yeah.
in right now. So,
Mm.
I really wanted people to be able to say, oh, yeah, now I understand what's happening on the planet.
Yeah. And ever so often I hear people say that, oh, that person is so bad, he can't have, there's no soul there. Do you think there could be somebody walking around with no soul?
Well, I think that just like Dolores Cannon talked, there are what's called backdrop people. Okay. Now, there's a theory, and I don't know. I'm still working with my collective on this because it was so counter to what I originally thought. But the fact that on this planet that there would only be truly 144 souls that have divided, that's having these multidimensional experiences, which then kind of make up like your soul families or your soul groups, and then your soul families, and that drips down to the individual souls, but as you go back up, it all goes into another primary soul. But that does make sense because we are all, as we come out of that monadic template, whether it's a blueprint or, some type of template of creation, there's a blueprint for the soul. And so we all have that blueprint preordained by the source energy, okay, found in the monadic field. That all comes down, and all over souls, which we all are part of, come from that one template. So we are all just one, and we are. So are there only 144? I don't know. But Dolores Cannon talks about, because we're co creators of our own reality, that we can have experiences where the individuals that we see or that we interact with, or the people on the roadside that just sort of have these blank stares about them, those are just backdrop people.
Yeah.
Is it
I don't
true?
know.
I don't know. I don't know. But everything that comes from source is not always hunky dory. Source itself, everything is contained within. So we've got the good, the bad, and the balancing thereof. Okay. And so to me, that's how evil, a lot of people say, oh my God, look at that politician, or oh my God, look at this or that. And I'm like, thank God they're playing that role that I didn't have to. So I
Yeah.
look at everything as a role that we're all playing. But I can say that my collective has told me that every single person that's on this planet right now having this human experience is here for a reason, and that we chose to be here during this time when all the vibrational frequency of the planet's rising, and when people are having these spiritual awakenings. And the very fact that they're here means that their vibration is part and was needed for the fabric that we have created for the reality that we're living in right now.
Mm.
So maybe, maybe that's a long answer to just say maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds like a definite maybe. Uh, but what about, I think right now, people are looking to the future and they're hoping for good things, but there are plans for things that is not so good by
Mhm.
someone or something that for their own gain are thinking different. Now, what we let me back up just a little bit. The
Okay.
it appears as timelines are converging. They are joining together, and that is what people upstairs that think they are someone, they are scared of, because they can see that it ends up in a good place. What do you feel we are going to experience, first of all, in the future, and where do you think it will end up when we can say this is good.
Well, I have a couple thoughts about this. First off, when we look at the times that we're in right now, and even the worst of the worst situations, I remind myself every second that I catch myself dropping into, like, oh my God, I am a soul having a human experience. We are in a game. That's what I tell myself. We're in the human game. So I rise above that fear. I drop in and anchor my roots in the earth so I can stay grounded. But I'm constantly reminding myself, we've agreed to this. If we don't like it, let's change it. We are co creators, we can change it. Now, because there's also people who do not know that, there's this fluctuation of energy that's happening, and that's where the now moment is occurring, okay, because of this fluctuation. And so, personally, I think, yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of things that come up that are going to cause people a lot of fear, whether it's a collapse of an economic system, whether it's global warming, whatever that is. But again, I say, remember, you're a soul having a human experience. What can you learn about that? Ask yourself, what can I learn in this time? My dad, my hat's off to him. He was not in North Carolina, thank goodness, for all the hurricanes and the waters and stuff that came. But his basement in Virginia flooded 4.5 feet. It had, I mean, so much stuff down there that a lot of people would be like, oh my God, that's irreplaceable, and da da da. You know what my dad said? Well, I guess it was just time to clean house. I guess it was just time to release all this stuff and let it go. Now, my dad's a religious man. He's not going to be saying, oh, well, on the metaphorical sense, da da da, but in his own heart, he saw that as, you know what? I hate this. I've got more loss than my insurance is going to cover. This is not a good thing. But guess what? It's gone. Now I get
Yeah.
a chance to start over. And that
Yeah.
is one thing that I took from hope from him is we all have a chance every single day in every single moment to start over. So when things are bad, if you can't do anything about it, how are you going to choose to respond to it? Everyone has the power of choice. Everyone has the power to create the reality. Now, some people say, you're crazy, lady. If I could create a reality, I'd be drinking margaritas on a boat out in the Bahamas, you know. But, and that's not everybody's dream, but some people have told me that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, then why aren't you?
Well,
If
the
you can
thing
do it,
about it,
why aren't you doing it?
yeah, that's the thing. Why aren't they doing it? Because science, quantum mechanics are showing us very clearly through repeatable experiments that we live in a
Yes.
mind-created universe. And that means our mind, well, I'm pointing to the mind and the heart too,
Yeah.
creates everything around us. So if we focus on something and go visit it every day and do everything we can to make it happen,
Yeah.
you have a very good chance of bringing that into your reality. And that's what people don't understand. I hear that, oh, yeah, whatever happens will happen. I guarantee you it will happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it will. But what if every day we got out of bed and no matter what happened to us, good, bad, or ugly, we said, everything's going my way.
Yeah,
Everything is going my way. Yeah, this is a horror. Like, I just had a day and a half of a, oh my God, kind of horrible situation. It's like, but that's okay because now we get a chance to look at it differently. Now we get a chance to focus on this. Now we get a chance to focus on that. So we are 100% in control of how we choose to live our lives every single moment of every single day. And
yeah.
so if people are dropping into fear, it's like, why? What? So if there's an economic collapse, people will get out of credit card debt. People will, all of these beautiful things will start to happen. We can recreate the reality that we want because people are waking up and they're taking control of their lives. And that's why I believe so many people see so much negative stuff out there in the world, is because all of a sudden they're like, you know what? That's really not acceptable to me. That's no longer, I'm not going to let them tell me what to put in my body. To let somebody hide this from me over here. I'm not going to be told X, Y, and Z. Well, why is that? Because they're waking up that it's wrong. It's wrong, and they know it. And people are taking control of their lives and they are changing things. But sometimes you have to start at ground zero. You have to start all over. And if
Mhm.
you do, that can be very exciting. As much as it can be a challenge. But again, if you're remembering, hey, wait a minute, I'm a soul, I'm having a human experience. I came to experience this. It sucks right now. It is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. But guess what? I chose this. So why did I choose it? What is it? Is it the rebuilding process? Is it waking up to the fact I am a soul? I mean, I can't answer those questions for people, but I know it's happening all around me. I see it every day.
Yeah. Well, it's up to us.
Yeah.
And people are waking up in hordes. So
Yes.
we're going into a new perception of our world, whether we like it or not. It's coming
Yes.
because those
It
those
is.
people that are waking up, they are not going to tolerate the garbage we've had before.
Right. And so many people are seeing craft everywhere. Every time I take one of the most recent, I saw this cool thing, and it was like this big, wide, partial rainbow. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? It came from the ground up to this cloud. I'd never seen that before because there was no arc to it. So I thought, oh, it must be the way that the light's reflecting, but that's really cool. So I'm going to take a photo. And I did. I got 15 craft in that one photo. They're everywhere. They're all around us. My husband was
Yeah.
coming from hunting right over Mount Massive in Colorado. He saw he thought maybe it was Jupiter at night, or maybe it was, I mean, not Jupiter. Anyway, he thought it was a planet. And so as he watched it, though, the planet went from here to here to here to here to here, and then it expanded its light. And then from the light dropped a red light that went from here to here to here to here. And then that light began to turn and to move, and then the light was gone. Okay. And he got a lot of that on his camera. And so there are, I think when we see craft, that's a sign of hope for us. They're not here to take us over. Good gracious. They have such superior technology. If they wanted to come down to this planet, we would already be gone. My goodness. So they're here to say, hey, look, guys, we're your galactic family. We love you. We're here to support you. There's only so much we can do because of the law of interference, but they're here to support us.
Yeah.
So are your spirit guides that are around you all the time. Because from world to spirit, when we come here, we call them spirit guides, but they're really our buddies on the other side. And so they're like, Augie, we're going to be right here. And when you start going down this path, we're going to say, hey, don't do that. Let me give you a little guidance. And because next time, guess what? You might come back as somebody else's guide because they're your buddy. Okay. And if we're not using them, they're just kind of sitting around twiddling their thumbs. It's like, ah, I told Augie not to do that, and he did it anyway. What is he thinking? I told Sheila not to go over there. She did it
Yeah.
anyway. What is she thinking? Hi, I can't imagine what a laugh they have.
Yeah.
It's like they're struggling. They really think that you can also look at it like we're little players in a video game. It's like they really think they're those characters. And guess what? We're probably laughing at ourselves because we project an aspect of ourselves here. So, as we're looking at things, don't take it so seriously. So many people are worried about the political situation that's happening right now. And I'm like, don't take it so seriously. And it's going to affect me this way. It's going to affect me. And I'm like, and what are you going to do about that? How are you going to respond to that? Well, what do you mean how, because then it's back in their ball court. But we can choose how to respond. Maybe you want to take out all your money. That's your personal choice. Maybe you want to invest all your money. That's your personal choice. Nobody can tell you. You have to make your own choices, but you're given the knowledge that you need that's out in front of you if you'll just drop into it. You've got the external knowledge and you've got that internal knowledge. So I just tell people, what feels resonant for you? What feels right? I don't know what feels right. You have to make a choice. So how are you going to choose to live every day? I like to choose to live that I'm a soul having a human experience and not take things so serious, even though I drop into the dramas of life, but I can pull myself out of them too.
Yeah.
And everybody can do that exact same thing.
Mm. One thing I want to say, that when you mention guides, they're here. They are. I don't know what it is, but I got shadow peoples in the house here. They live here too, and I'm good with that. I don't mind. They're here. I can see them when I look over. They're gone, but there they are. So they live
Yes.
here, and if they are guides, why don't we ask? All we have to do sometimes is ask for the help. And when they send us that message, that's the little voice talking in the back of our head, and
Yeah.
we need to listen. Every time I have refused to listen to that little voice, it goes bad.
Yeah, I know. That's like I was saying. I used to always think, man, I got these great ideas and look what I'm doing. And they're like, that's not you. That has
Yeah,
nothing to do with you. That's us giving you guidance. That's it's like, oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm learning. I'm learning to listen more and more, and they always good messages. They
Yeah,
they don't tell you to go out and do something shitty that's just gonna hurt somebody. You never get stuff like
yeah,
that. It is always
yeah.
good messages.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of people say, "Oh, well, walk-ins, they're body snatchers and they take over and they come in and people's personality changes and they get mean." I'm going to say, "Uh-uh, that's not a walk-in. Walk-ins are only here to bring the highest good for humanity to work with humanity, to help humanity to raise the vibration. If someone says they have a walk in and their life is in a downward spiral, they may have had something to walk in, but I tell you what, it's not from up here. It could be a
Yeah,
disincarnate spirit, it could be a whole host of things. But I've never known a single walk in that comes in and destroys someone's life. It just doesn't happen. That's not the way it works. There's so many souls on the other side lined up to come here. They're not going to come here and play the bad guy. If you're going to come in
yeah,
as a walk-in, you have to come in, you've got a mission that's firmly intact that you have to, play out.
yeah. And these are the things that you talk to people in your counseling sessions. And
Mhm.
so
I do.
speak just a little bit about that, because there's a lot of people out there that need just a friend to talk to for even a little
Yeah.
bit. They need encouragement, and they need somebody to tell them that don't worry, it's okay, it's going to be good.
Yeah. They can go to my website, sheilaseppi.com, SHEILASEPPI. And if they go to sessions, they'll see all the different types of sessions that I have. And a lot of times people do, they just want to talk. And so I call those multidimensional life sessions, life coaching, because it's not just me they're talking to, because I talk with their guides. And I also channel one of my Andromedan elder mothers, Tiamu. And a lot of times she will come through and just do a quick light language clearing, and things just are gone. I had one woman who was stuck in grief. She could not get out of grief. And one session with Tiamu, it was gone. Now, it doesn't mean she didn't miss her partner. It didn't mean that she, was thrilled, but it means that she could begin to live her own life and to move through that grief. So, you know, I just feel, really blessed to be able to work with her. Also have a healing team I work with that's Arcturian, Andromedan, and angelic. And they come in and they work with the ley lines of people clearing things out, getting rid of those big old Brillo pads, pulling that stuff out. And most of the time, when we're finished with all of this, the reason we're doing this is so that you have that heart head coherence, so that you have that clear conduit, that as that information comes in from above, that it doesn't enter in an unstructured format, that it comes in very gentle, that it hits the pineal, the pituitary goes out through the endocrine system, does its thing, but that we're able to operate from a place of heart. And I found it really interesting. They weren't working with the pineal and the heart, it was the brain and the heart because of the thought processes, because of the neurology that had been set up. So a lot of times they go in and they increase, decrease, shift, change, enhance neurological pathways that were already there, but
Yeah.
maybe they just weren't utilizing them. And when you engage that and you shift and you anchor that into a person's DNA, then that which they already are comes online.
Mm. Yeah. And I know there are times when I call you, you're always on the phone, so you must be very busy. And there's a lot of people needing help, so I hope you continue with this.
Yeah.
You do some other things also, like Conscious Awakening Network is expanding now. You got another one coming out. It's the talk about what you're doing there.
Yeah. So, with the Conscious Awakening Network, that literally is an expression of my mission because I came in, like many people, to be a way shower. And as a way shower, you're offering opportunities for people to make choices for themselves that move them into higher vibrational frequencies. And so my belief is that somebody may not necessarily resonate with everything that I have to say, but boy, if they hear you, it's like, man, I can drop into everything Aage says. Or maybe they hear someone else and they're like, man, I really love that. And so the opportunity exists that as we unite, we create this synergistic vibration that helps to expand the human consciousness. That's what the Conscious Awakening Network is about. And we have lots of different speakers, lots of different channels, and our channels we're now moving into, and we're calling them Ascension TV because you can find us on Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, Android TV, on our phones. You have to download the app though. You can't just turn on the phone. And it's a free app, so just go to your, iOS or Android phone store. You can download that. We're out on a lot of different platforms on YouTube and really sharing messages, giving, excuse me, giving messages of hope, letting people know that they are spiritual beings, letting people know, hey, I saw a craft last night, and thank God I've got a place I can talk about it. So we're really trying to bring everybody together in this synergistic voice. And at the outcome, we're always expanding. So we're looking at adding a membership program, which will then allow people to have viewership of exclusive content and an affiliate program. So let's say you are an affiliate and you want to share Conscious Awakening Network, people buy the membership and you get a portion of it because that to me is the beginning of that 5D economy that we're all
Yeah,
looking for. What's good for one is good for all.
yeah, yeah. And also, tell us where they can go to have a look at what's in that book, and
Yes.
Amazon probably, and
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Right now, our official launch date is November the 22nd, but Amazon is doing this special preview, and people can now go to Amazon and they can buy the book. Okay. I think it's 17.99. It's not a huge read. It does have, 200 and some pages, but the way it's designed is you can read a section and put it down, and you can let that digest. And you go back and you read another section and you can put it down. And so it's not something that, you have to read from front to beginning. Sometimes you can just take the book and open it, and it's like, ah, soul overlays. A soul overlay can take shape in either a permanent or a temporary form. And maybe that's a message for you for the day, that you need to think about that because maybe you have soul overlays. And so I've got all kinds of information. I've got charts because I'm a chart person. I love my spreadsheets. You can't put a spreadsheet in there, so I do a little
Yeah.
chart, and so there's so much that people can find in there.
Yeah, gosh, we only got 1 minute left, but we also have another show on next month in November the 7th. Say something about that real quick.
Yeah. So when I was writing this, I've always wanted, I mean, I love Barbara Lamb. Love, love, love Barbara Lamb. She's phenomenal. And I asked her to be my co-author. So Barbara has put a variety of hypnosis sessions in here from people that discovered or dropped in deeper to the fact that they were walk-ins, star seeds, and hybrids. And Barbara is a plethora of information because in her hypnosis regressions, she has literally regressed thousands of people that have shared these tidbits of information. And some of that we share in the book as well. So Barbara will be here also with us.
That's wonderful. I think we're almost out of time, but there is one more question I just got to ask you. I
Okay.
didn't I didn't want to tell you what the
Okay.
question was because I wanted to blindside you. And
Okay.
the question is, if you could talk to the whole world and the world is listening, what would you tell them?
You are so much more than you have been led to believe, and you are a soul having a human experience. So don't take life so seriously.
Yeah, thank you.
You are so
Oh, this is
welcome. Thanks for having me on. I always loved talking to you, Augie.
yeah, this has been so much fun, and I always learn something when I talk with you. So I'm looking forward to the 7th. This is going to be good too. All
Great.
right.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you very much, and to the listeners out there, come and see us next Sunday for the paranormal show at 8 o'clock in the evening, East Coast time, and also on Thursday night, of course, when we're back here again. So until then.